A 16-year-old girl is dead after a sledding accident in Frisco. What started as a day meant to be full of fun, taking advantage of all of this wintry weather you see around me, turned into tragedy. We are right at the corner of Majestic Gardens and Killian Court, again in Frisco.
On a quiet winter morning in Frisco, Texas, the neighborhood looked temporarily transformed. Lawns were dusted white. Parked cars wore thin caps of snow. Driveways that usually reflected the pale yellow of streetlights now absorbed sound, muting the early hours of the day. For many families, it felt like a rare gift, a snow day and a place where winter usually passes without leaving a mark. Children dragged sleds from garages, some were store-bought, others improvised from plastic bins, cardboard, or lids pulled from storage. Parents followed behind, phones in hand, watching something that felt both familiar and fleeting. Snow like this doesn't last long in North Texas. You enjoy it while you can. What no one could see that morning was how quickly that ordinary scene would fracture. Within hours, the sound of laughter would be replaced by sirens. A hill that had looked harmless, just another gentle slope in a master-planned neighborhood, would become the site of a fatal accident. By the end of the day, a family in Frisco would be grieving a loss that began with a decision that felt safe, reasonable, and almost universal. This was not an extreme storm, not a blizzard, not a once-in-a-generation freeze. It was ordinary snow, and that is exactly why it was so dangerous. Frisco is not a winter town. It is a city shaped by rapid growth, highways, subdivisions, and infrastructure designed around heat, rain, and long summers. Its hills are not ski slopes or park features. They are functional pieces of engineering, drainage embankments, roadside grades, retention pond walls, built to move water quickly during heavy storms. On a dry day, these slopes barely register. They blend into the background of daily life. Children ride bikes past them, people walk dogs along their edges, cars roll by at the bottom without a second thought. Under snow, those same slopes behave very differently. A thin layer of snow hides concrete culverts, storm drains, and hardened soil. Beneath that snow, ice often forms unevenly, especially in regions where the ground does not freeze uniformly. The result is a surface that offers almost no friction. What looks like a gentle hill becomes an accelerating channel. Investigators later noted that the sled involved in the Frisco accident gained speed far faster than anyone expected. Once it began sliding, there was little ability to steer, slow, or stop. The bottom of the slope offered no wide, flat runout, only hard surfaces and obstacles common to suburban design. The entire sequence unfolded in seconds. By the time the sled reached the bottom, the situation had already moved beyond what anyone nearby could physically intervene in. Emergency crews were called immediately, but the injuries were severe. The environment itself had done the damage. Days later, as snow continued to move across parts of the South, a strikingly similar scene unfolded in Arkansas. The setting was different, another town, another neighborhood, but the conditions felt familiar. Snow had fallen just deep enough to close schools and pull families outside. Roads were quiet. Yards and hills that usually served as nothing more than background space suddenly became playgrounds. A sled was placed at the top of a modest slope. It did not look steep, it did not look dangerous. At the bottom, however, was a roadway. Witnesses later described how quickly the sled accelerated once it began moving, how little time there was to react, and how suddenly the ride ended. The snow muffled sound, but not speed. By the time the sled reached the street, there was no margin left. First responders arrived to a scene that had shifted from recreation to emergency in moments. Despite rapid medical attention, the outcome was fatal. 2 states, 2 families, 2 hills that had existed for years without incident until snow changed how they behaved. Why normal snow is more dangerous where it's rare. In places that experience snow every winter, sledding is not spontaneous. It is structured. Northern cities design for it, often without explicitly advertising it. Hills and public parks are shaped to slow sleds naturally. Roads are routed away from steep grades. Barriers, trees, and fencing create buffers between recreational areas and traffic. Snow itself is different too, often drier, more compact, and more predictable in how it packs. In much of the South, snow is an interruption, not a season.
Oh, she totally got you. Look at this. Yeah. It's a perfect snowball.
Okay, we're ready. Holy mackerel! Wait, we forgot one thing.
What?
Hold on. Perfect.
When it does fall, it frequently arrives alongside freezing rain or rapid temperature swings. Ice forms beneath powder. Pavement and concrete chill faster than soil. Metal grates and drainage covers become slick, hidden launch points. The physics change. A sled that might coast gently in Minnesota can accelerate dangerously fast in Texas. A slope that feels manageable under grass behaves like polished stone under ice. And because this environment appears rarely, there is no shared instinct about where not to go, no inherited caution, no community memory of past close calls. Sledding feels safe because it is culturally coded as harmless. It appears in movies, commercials, and childhood memories. It is associated with laughter, not warnings. Parents who grew up in snowy states remember doing it countless times without injury. Parents who grew up in warm states see it as a novelty, something special, temporary, and innocent. That familiarity is misleading. A hill is not just a hill, its surroundings matter. What sits at the bottom matters. The material beneath the snow matters. In Frisco and in Arkansas, sledding took place on terrain never intended for play. Drainage slopes are designed to move water efficiently away from homes and streets during heavy rain. Smooth surfaces reduce resistance. Channels funnel flow toward collection points. Under snow and ice, that same design accelerates anything placed on top of it. In northern cities, these areas are often fenced, signed, or visually distinct enough to discourage use. In the South, they blend seamlessly into everyday landscapes until snow temporarily changes how they behave. Communities left replaying ordinary decisions. In Frisco, grief settled quickly. Schools brought in counselors, neighbors left flowers. Parents replayed the morning in their minds, the sled choice, the hill, the moment they said yes. City officials issued reminders urging residents to avoid sledding near roads, drainage areas, and steep slopes. The guidance was sound. It was also reactive. There was no recklessness, only an activity that felt normal, meeting conditions that were anything but. Risk behaves differently when exposure is rare. In places that experience snow every winter, sledding is not novel, it is understood. In regions where snow appears once every few years, those lessons arrive all at once, often through accidents. The margin for error shrinks. Small misjudgments carry larger consequences. A short hill, a thin layer of ice, a road a few yards too close. Snow in Texas or Arkansas spreads quickly online. Videos of sledding feel charming, novel, and harmless. They reinforce the idea that this is a moment to be enjoyed, not questioned. What is rarely shared are the near misses. The sled that spins sideways but stops just short of traffic. The child who loses control but slides into soft grass instead of concrete. Those moments carry warnings, but they vanish as soon as the snow melts. What these tragedies reveal? The question is not why families allowed sledding. The question is why environments that appear safe can become lethal under conditions they were never designed to handle. As climate patterns shift, rare winter weather is reaching more places unaccustomed to it. Communities built for heat and rain are increasingly asked to endure cold and ice. Each time that happens, familiar spaces behave in unfamiliar ways. What can change? Emergency planners and urban designers point to small interventions that can reduce risk during rare winter events. Temporary fencing or signage near drainage slopes and roadways, clear public messaging that emphasizes where not to sled, not just that snow has arrived. Designated safe areas with long, flat runouts when conditions allow. None of these eliminate risk, but they restore margin. Behind every headline is a home forever divided into before and after. A sled stored away, a hill that will never look the same again, in Frisco, in Arkansas, and in every place where snow feels rare enough to seem harmless. Snow does not need to be deep to be deadly. A tradition does not need to be extreme to carry risk. What these tragedies show is how easily joy can outrun caution when conditions look familiar but behave differently. As winter weather continues to appear in places not built for it, the most important preparation may not be plows or salt, but understanding. Understanding that ordinary environments can change character overnight, and that sometimes the most dangerous thing about snow is how safe it appears. If this story made you pause, consider sharing it, not to spread fear, but awareness. Because in places where snow is rare, awareness may be the only thing standing between a moment of winter fun and a tragedy that lasts long after the snow is gone.